that you can bring that up when you get there. We get there anyway.
Okay. Brian, can I ask you a quick question on that?
Sure.
For the confidential administrative assistant.
All right, I'll call to order the regular meeting of Chisholm City Council for February 9th, 2022. Good evening, everyone. Margaret, could you take roll call, please? Is Margaret on? I didn't even see her.
Margaret is not on. She must be having difficulties. I can take roll call.
Good.
Councillor Lance.
Here.
Councillor Michelaraha. Councillor Fountain.
Here.
Counselor
Call to order the regular meeting of Chisholm City Council for February 9th, 2022. Good evening, everyone. Wow, that's weird. Take roll call, please.
Mayor and Stephanie. Mayor and Stephanie.
Yes.
I've got Margaret on the phone. She says she's not able to connect in and is asking that the app or the invitation get forwarded to her at m_Gornick at AOL.com, please.
Yep. As soon as Stephanie finishes roll call, we'll have her do that while I'm talking.
Margaret, how do I _M?
Counselor Baki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Here. So that was really weird that we just started getting audio from a minute earlier.
I'm here too. I'm here too.
So we'll just note that everybody except
Hello?
Travis is here. Yeah, we can hear you, Marty. You're good.
Okay, roll call, I'm here.
Yeah, we had a kind of a mess there for a minute. All right, so we'll move on. Adopt the agenda. No additions to the agenda. We did have the first item under Jess. We did get the people that she's going to recommend. That was emailed to us. That was it, right, Stephanie?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So motion to accept the agenda as presented, Council.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, April, and thank you, Adam, for supporting that. Further discussion? Stephanie, can you take a roll call, please? She's trying to do 12 things at once.
I apologize.
That's right. We got time. You want to take roll call, please?
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki, absent. Counselor Helverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha. Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Yeah, motion carries.
I think we're out of order on the voting.
Yeah, we'll try to get it right for the regular meeting. Marty, do you recall the voting order so when we get to the agenda items?
I apologize. I don't have it in front of me.
So it's Marty first, right? Cheyenne second, I believe. Anybody remember past that?
And Councilor Fountain, myself, Councilor Baki, and then you, Mayor. And I see Margaret is on, so the ship is righted.
All right, we're getting there. All right. All right, so the agenda is adopted. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, folks.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public participation. Folks, tonight we have Bob Streeter on with us. Bob is working with our Economic Development Authority to try to put a housing development together. It's actually coming up later in the meeting underwent an addition. Adam probably is well aware of who Bob Streeter is. Most of the rest of us probably just meeting him. And of course, Travis is in here. So good evening, Bob. I don't know if Stephanie wants to be part of this presenting you or anything to add to that, but good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nice to be here. Stephanie, if you want to say anything, or what would you like how would you like to begin?
Sure, I can just say that we have some exciting news coming out of the EDA. Bob is here to present a very well documents, in my opinion, and take it away, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Mayor and Council, what you have here tonight is a work plan to prepare the Renton addition for conversion from its current undeveloped state into an attractive, highly attractive owner-occupied residential neighborhood. And so what I want to do is spend the next 3 to 5 minutes and walk through that at a high level And then if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to take those. So right now there's an area on the northwest part of the city. It's about 32 acres called the Wenton Addition. It was platted in 1859 and no development or very little development has occurred since then. I think there's been 8 single family homes constructed. Well, the city council desires, along with its comprehensive plan, to see that developed into residential and meet its comprehensive plan housing goals. So the work plan is really a map or a roadmap for how that's going to be accomplished. So again, the purpose of the work plan is to prepare this land for conversion to a new residential neighborhood. The outcomes of the plan will be a development concept in the form of a preliminary plat and site plan, along with estimated land development costs, amendments to the city's comprehensive plan, and a creation of a planned unit development ordinance, and a marketing booklet that will be available to developers, builders, as well as potential homeowners in the area, so they have an idea of what this area is likely to look like once construction happens. So what I like to tell people is this plan will prepare the table, but it's still going to require developers and builders to work together along with future homeowners to construct housing in that area. The reason for the work plan is that it's highly unlikely that any private builder of any size is going to come up and take this on, given the risk and the cost in accomplishing this preparation. So because the city owns the land and the city received the land, I believe, in 1993 through tax forfeit, the city is able to take the investment in this plan, get the land ready, and then through the resale of the lots to recover some, if not all, of the money that's being expended to prepare the site. So generally the plan has 4 steps. Phase 1 is background research, and this is necessary because this will provide the information for the city council and staff that will describe the site, its physical characteristics from geotechnical analysis, its environmental condition, wetlands, floodplains. It'll look at the regulatory analysis, the availability of public and private utilities, and then a market analysis to look at what is the demand for single family or owner occupied housing in the market area. And all of that information the council will have at the beginning of phase 2, which at that time the council will be better informed and able to establish what's your vision for this area. What kind of neighborhood do you want in terms of land use, the circulation of the road system, any kind of park or trail amenities. This will be the council's opportunity to take this information and decide what the vision and the goals are for this subdivision. But it also has a community engagement component. So the planning commission, adjacent property owners to this site, as well as the community, will also get to have the same information to review it and advise the city council as a body make this final decision. Once the city council puts together its vision in terms of goals and policies of what you'd like to see, the next phase is development of the plan concept. So myself and the landscape architect are going to work together, and we are going to prepare a development concept that reflects the goals and vision you set in phase 2. And there'll probably be 2 or 3 different alternatives. They may not differ greatly, but there'll be 2 or 3 different alternatives. And then you'll have the opportunity as a council to hear from the community, again, the planning commission, adjacent landowners. But you'll have the opportunity then to determine how well the concepts comport or comply with the goals and vision you set. So you can pick concept 1, 2, or 3, or a combination of 1, 2, or 3 and create a 4th concept. The last step then, the 4th phase, is implementation. So once the council has gotten the information, decided the concept they'd like to see, that's got market feasibility, there's physical feasibility, and of course political and regulatory feasibility. Then it's the implementation. So the council will then, along with the planning commission, amend the comprehensive plan. You'll create and approve a PUD. And at that point, any developer can come in, builder or developer, and they can submit, let me back up. You'll have a preliminary plat and site plan. And all the regulatory, everything's going to line up. the builder developer can come in, they can submit a plan, and as long as their plan is in substantial conformity with what the council approved, they go ahead and they get to develop. And builders and developers like that. They like uncertainty kills projects. So as much certainty as you can provide a builder or developer, the greater likelihood this is going to see development activity. And so the whole process is estimated to take somewhere between 6 and 9 months. It should be done the first part of December, and development could begin as early as 2023. So I know I put together quite a bit of documentation and contracts, and I won't go through that in detail, but Mayor and Council, if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them now.
Council, anything for Bob while he's on with us early? We will be taking up the whole project later and his work plan.
Mr. Mayor, should we address those questions when we take up the work plan, or how would you like
Bob,
that?
are you going to stay on with us until then?
I certainly can. But I'm happy to answer them now too, if you
Okay.
like.
Mr. Mayor, is it all right if I ask a question?
Yeah, that's a good time, April. Then, if we don't have any other ones, Bob can move on. So he doesn't
Okay.
have too long. So go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Bob.
Hi.
So I went online to kind of navigate to find out where the Wenton addition was, and I found the Wenton Drive.
Yes.
And I know you said there's 32 acres. Is that near Wenton Drive in that area towards the cemetery area? Or how does that, where is that area? There wasn't anything in our packet.
Yeah, I think what I would say is it's between 5th and 9th Street on the west side. It's the vacant area or the woodsy area. And then I think, I'm looking at my map, I think there's 10th Avenue on the far west. So it abuts right up next to Balkan Township. I apologize, I don't have a detailed map in front of me. I'm just looking at the one I sent in the packet. But if you'd like, I'd be happy to email Stephanie a more detailed map and I can get that to you.
Bob, you're correct. This is Jim Johnson, and basically it's to the west of 7th Avenue, from 5th Street up to about 9th Street. So you're in that general area, yes.
Okay.
That would be great, Mr. Mayor, if we could get a map. Would that be all right?
Yep.
I can do that. Happy to do that.
Anything else? For Bob at this point? All right, so we'll be taking up the agreement later on. So Bob, I appreciate it. If you want to stay on, feel free.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public participation. We'll go into council reports. Start out with Councilor Halverson tonight. Good evening, Marty. Report tonight?
Good evening. The only report item is Park and Recreation meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Cheyenne, report tonight. Good evening. Did we lose her? There
Good
she is.
evening.
Good evening.
My only report is I attended the League of Minnesota Cities Elected Leaders Institute. That's their foundational leadership program this past weekend, and oh my goodness, I learned a ton, met a ton of amazing people throughout the state. I absolutely loved it. It was great. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. I would love to talk about it forever, but I won't.
Thank you. Council, anything on that? April, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do have a report tonight. First, I'd like to say Happy Black History Month, and you know how I like to talk about histories and celebrations. So each February, National Black History Month serves as both a celebration and a powerful reminder that Black history is American history, Black culture is American culture, and Black stories are essential to the ongoing story of America. Our faults, our struggles, our progress, and our aspirations. Shining a light on Black history today is as important to understanding ourselves and growing stronger as a nation as it has ever been. That is why it is essential that we take our time to celebrate the immeasurable contributions of Black Americans, honor the legacies and achievements of generations past, reckon with centuries of injustice, and confront those injustices that still fester today. So happy Black History Month, and we celebrate all of you today. Thank you.
Thank you. April?
And the month, not just today, every day.
Adam, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening. The only thing to report at our business meeting with the fire department, our first captain, Billy Temple, celebrating 11 years with the department. So just like to throw a shout out to Billy. Thank you very much for everything you do for us and the community. And other than that, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Travis is out tonight. Report, Sled the City. It's coming up on Saturday. I'm sure everybody's seen the hill being built, so hopefully get people out there and use our slide. It's been fun the last couple of years, so hopefully it brings people out with their children, and it's kind of a nice event for that. You see people out with their children sliding together, so love the event. Just a look quickly about the HRA. We actually got a grant. We got some CDBG funding of $38,000. We applied for a lot more, but we're going to use it to do some remodeling on these brick buildings that are kind of by that water tower. We're starting to go through those. Our plan is to go through all of them eventually, but we're going to start with the first two. They're empty now. They were very terribly damaged by previous tenants, and so they're good candidates. We had originally applied to HUD to try to take those buildings and increase the size of the apartments, and in each of those buildings there's 4 apartments, and we wanted to split them into or reduce it to 2 apartments and make them bigger. We struggled to rent them because they're so small. But they declined to allow us to do that. So we're going to just go through with our plans to remodel. So it was nice of CDBG for at least giving us a start there. With regard to funding for the HRA, I'm currently in discussions with the HRA director, Commissioner Jigovich, and the Iron Range Resources staff are trying to put together a plan to try to get some applications in for some of their future funding cycles. And we're hopeful. The staff member from Iron Range Resources did return my call and told me that he'd help us try to get figure out which of our dozens of projects we have in front of us would qualify under their criteria and help us with the application process. So look forward to that, and hopefully that'll help with some of the deferred maintenance that hadn't been taken care of over the years. So I think that's all I have, other than I will be missing the next meeting. I will be on vacation, so don't put me on any underwater basket weaving commissions or anything while I'm gone, please. All right, anything on that, council? Anything else to add before we move on to our department heads? All right, we'll start out with our, oh, go ahead.
Just one more thing. I'll be on vacation in 2 weeks. I hope we're still on Zoom because I can still attend the meeting if it's on Zoom.
Perfect. All right. Department heads, ambulance director, Jess, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. The first portion of my report is going to be more in the emergency management section. All of the new AEDs are up and installed. They're in all of the same locations that the old AEDs were placed, but we also added a new one to the city garage for those folks there. They're really awesome. They connect to Wi-Fi, so we can monitor them remotely and know their status at any point in time. And if they're used, we can do some good information with the reports that they produce. Training will be coming. I'm working on getting an AED trainer and some CPR mannequins. I know that a lot of people are hesitant to use them until they're trained. So if you are interested, you can go onto YouTube and look for Physio Control Life Pack CR2 AED instructions. There's quite a few of them. We have the semi-automatics, and the one by Cardio Partners is actually a pretty good video. So that can kind of give an introductory thing until we get the equipment in, and I'm able to get out and start training folks on those. As far as EMS goes, in January, we ran 91 calls. Let me see, it looks like 3 of those were in Vulcan, 2 were in French Township, and we ran about 6 mutual aid calls for areas around us. And so far in February, we're up to 20 calls, including 3 in Vulcan already. Let's see, our EMRs just recently completed their training and got certified. We're working them in, getting field training in, and they're coming in and asking fantastic questions. They're really excited, and we're all excited to have them on, and they are already starting into their EMT training. So we're going to start getting everybody online here shortly. It's super exciting. That is all I can think of report-wise beyond what I already have on the agenda.
Thank you, Jess. Council, anything for Jess? Thank you, Jess. Fire Chief Chris, report tonight. Good evening.
No report for the fire department tonight.
Council, anything for the fire department? Thank you. I did not see Vern on tonight. He must be on vacation. So we'll jump over him. Building official, Mandy, good evening. Report tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Planning Commission met this Monday, and we went over a draft version of the short-term rental ordinance, and we are currently working on that, and we'll be meeting again next month to work on that, and that is about it for me tonight.
Thank you, Mandy. Council, anything for building official? All right. Thank you, Mandy. Moving on. Jim Johnson, engineer, report tonight, Jim.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I have no formal report, but would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Jim, I have a question. Or some comments, I don't know. So I've been following, so you sent me an email with regard to the pieces of land we need for the public safety building, them little strips, and the deal that the individual, whether we buy them outright, we want to trade or whatever. Are you waiting for my reply on that? And then as part of that question, should we just bring the whole idea to the council anyway and just let them decide with some maps or something, or are we that far, or what do we do?
Are you responding to that email that I sent to Mr. Palmer last night that I copied to Stephanie and you and Mandy?
I don't know if I read your part of it. I knew that he had told us he'd reduce the price to sell those parcels outright, or he'd be interested in trading for 2 different, like 10-acre plats or something, if we were agreement to that. I guess I didn't see your reply, so I didn't know.
I think he had sent another email, I think about January 28th. Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, and Stephanie just asked me to respond to him right now to get the discussions going again, because at least in my opinion, I would like to get those parcels wrapped up and continue discussions on other parcels of land that they might be interested in acquiring or trading.
Okay,
So no, I do not need anything from you right now.
okay, thank you. Council, anything for Jim before we move on? Thank you, Jim.
You're
Moving
welcome.
on.
Thank you.
Public Works, Larry, report tonight. Good evening.
Evening, everyone. Short report. You're all aware of the weather and the continuous snow. So, but the snowmobilers are really happy, and we're happy for them. So, I'm really happy to report on a personal level that I'm a Chisholm taxpayer again. We signed on some property, and we're meeting with a home designer, and we're going to build a house and garage in Chisholm. So, I'll be closer to Tammy than probably any of you. I'll be right up by Tammy. So, so with that, thank you. We got ready for the Sled the City this week. We did the sliding hill. We're just about finished up in that. We put a rush on it. So you all see the forecast, another 3 to 5 inches tomorrow and possibly one overnight. So we're going to wipe that mash off the roads. That's annoying. You know, that one day really just killed us at 36 degrees. It was just beautiful. So everyone enjoyed it. So, but you get all that mash on the road. So we're going to wipe that off in the morning and prepare because it's going to cool down again. So we want to get that off. And then we'll wipe, again. We're planning on 4 a.m. Friday morning and get it all cleaned up and cleared off for the weekend. A little bit of weird news, maybe not really weird when you think about it, but when you sit, you go to your local stores and some of the shelves are bare and stuff. One of the things I noticed lately, which is weird, is juice boxes. The shelves are bare, which is really weird. But we're having a real hard time. I'm on it already. Travis has me all over it, the flags and the flowers. And we are going to have a real hard time getting both this year, which we all know with the all-class reunion stuff, how beautiful that makes our city. And the news isn't good, but I have it out to our vendors and our friends that we need to do something. We need to figure this out. So we're on it. It's I would have never imagined that you couldn't get flags and flowers to beat. So we're working on it hard, but I just wanted to share that with you. So there could be some changes coming forward. These flags are really hard to get. And I said, we need to do something. I know it's a bridge of peace and we have a standard, but we have to have flags up. So I'll be bringing more information in the future as we go. So that's really, with the cold weather and stuff, that's really what I have. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Council, anything for Larry? Thank you, Larry. Tammy, good evening. Report tonight.
Good evening. No report, Mayor. I have an item later on.
Thank you, Tammy. Council, anything for Tammy before we move on? All right, thank you. Attorney Lindsay, report tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. No formal report, but I am happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Council, anything for the attorney? Thank you, Brian. Clerk Treasurer Eileen, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. I just have a couple things regarding just as mention of reports. I'm working with her to make sure those reports tie to the deposits that we receive every month. So we're keeping a track of that. Just wanted council to know that. And then the other thing is I sent an email right before council tonight in regard to multi-factor authentication because of a lack in communication about when that would be implemented. It caused quite a few problems for all Outlook users. So I apologize for that transpiring. And what the multi-factor authentication is it provides a level of security for your Outlook account. And it's something that was presented to council previously with some additional security controls that CW Technology suggested we implement. So I just wanted to take responsibility for that and mention it briefly. Thank you.
Eileen, just a question from the mayor. So I logged in tonight and I seen that, and then you went in or whatever and turned it off so that the council didn't have issues trying to get the meeting information tonight. So is that email you sent gonna allow us to turn it back on, or are you just gonna turn it back on at some point and we're gonna go through the process?
I did mention that in the email, Mayor,
Okay.
that Friday, we're gonna try and do it again, but I'll make
Okay.
sure and reach out to each of you to schedule that.
Okay, good. All righty.
Thank you.
Council, anything for Eileen? Thank you, Eileen. Stephanie, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I do not have a formal report tonight.
Thank you. Council, anything for Stephanie? Okay, that concludes our reports. We'll move on to the consent agenda. These are your list of bills, communications, which are the fire department minutes, planning commission minutes, rec board minutes, Chisholm Skating Club communication, minutes of the previous city council meeting, the January 26, 2022 meeting, payroll and overtime. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda, council?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion, council, corrections? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki, absent, and Mayor Champa.
Aye. Good, consent agenda is approved. Unfinished business, council, as you remember, this item was brought forward from the last, the last meeting. Trying to get an opinion from the city attorney on whether or not we could allow Ryan Baumgardner to serve on our planning commission. Brian, could you chime in, please, and just kind of tell me what you told, or tell the council what you told me earlier about this item and your opinion on allowing this?
Absolutely, Mayor. So I did go back and do some research into this. I looked both in the enabling and creation provisions of the city ordinance, as well as just kind of a general perusal of the case law. And what I found is that there's no geographic restriction here. And truly, as I kind of intimated during the last meeting, the law recently disfavors those geographic restrictions. And geographic restriction meaning that somebody has to live and reside within the city in order to be appointed to boards and commissions. There is a connection to the community here. And except for in the cases of emergency response, where the timing of response could be critical, those types of restrictions are disfavored and don't actually exist here. So the appointment would be appropriate or could happen.
Thank you, Brian. So, council, with that said, Ryan would be a great addition to that planning commission board, and I would make the recommendation that we allow Ryan to serve on that plan, to fill that position. And,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Murray.
Can you refresh us on how many openings are on that commission?
Oh, Lord. No, I can't.
I believe there's two.
There's two.
Two openings? Okay, thank you.
There's one more appointment at the end of the agenda, Marty. For the
That's
other.
why I asked.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd make the recommendation, appoint Ryan Baumgardner to planning commission. Look for a motion for that, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Second, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Further discussion? Let me have one more question with Attorney Lindsay before we vote. Attorney? Should somebody apply to one of our other boards? Should we take this up the same way we did this and have you review it first? My guess is this is going to open up. I don't know, things like our EDA have a different set of rules and HRAs may have different set of rules. Or are you comfortable with a blanket policy at this point?
What I could do, Mayor, is I could actually go back and just make a quick perusal of all the qualifications for the different boards and commissions, and I could supply a list or a summary to Ms. Graba.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Further?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikularaha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Welcome aboard, Ryan. All right, new business. Jess, EMT hiring committee recommendations for hire. Council, you received on February 9th, her recommendation, or the committee's recommendations. But Jess, go ahead.
Yeah, just 2 names on there. Looking for approval.
So council, in the past, we've taken them up as a group, so make the recommendation and ask for a motion to hire Eric Olson and Adam Vaki as EMTs on their ambulance service.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, Adam? Second for Adam's motion?
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Further discussion? Art?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikularaha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Mutual aid agreement with Hibbing, Cook, and Buell, Meds 1. Jess?
Sorry, almost didn't unmute myself. So yes, with Attorney Lindsay and looking at some other examples of mutual aid agreements, drafted up these agreements. All 3 of them would be the same. Just looking for council's approval for these mutual aid. Again, this mutual aid would be for if there's a mass disaster and we need help to come in, or if we don't have, we're out on our first call or first and second call, we need more ambulances and to run some other calls, that would be mutual aid, and vice versa for us returning those services to the communities around us as well.
Good. Council looking for a motion to approve the mutual aid agreements, obviously very much needed with regard to all our services.
I'll make the motion, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Second for that?
Support.
Diane, thank you. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikularaha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Jess. Moving on, Jim Johnson, resolution number 0222-28 for 2021-2022 street rehabilitation mill and overlay project. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I have provided you with a brief overview in the request for council action on page 27. Basically just summarizing, there was monies budgeted in last year's budget of $130,000, of which we spent about $75,000 on engineering fees, but also for the milling reclamation of about 80 blocks of alleys in town, as well as some of the engineering costs putting together this feasibility for this project. So we have a carryover of about $55,000. The council has allocated an additional $500,000 in this year's budget. So what I'm anticipating is the $55,000 should cover any remaining overhead costs, engineering, legal costs, those types of things. So we've really got a budget of construction cost of about $500,000. As you go through the attached feasibility report, as you get to the back of it, you'll notice that the estimated construction cost for about 40 blocks is about $790,000. What we would like to do is take bids on that project, see where the costs actually come, and then between city staff, the council, mayor, And citizens will have to possibly establish some priorities as to which ones can get done this year, which ones we'll have to put off for another year. But basically what I'm asking for here tonight is resolution, as you mentioned, which is on page 41, which is in accordance with the Chapter 429 assessment process, whereby the council is accepting this feasibility. And then as part of the process, we need to hold a public hearing on this project. And as you see on page 41, that is proposed at 5 o'clock or in advance of your March 9th meeting. But in addition to that, which is not required by state statutes, but which we found to be very informative, very successful, is a week in advance of that, we'll have an informational meeting for those abutting and benefiting property owners, where we'll present exactly the same information. It's a little more informal, a little bit easier to ask questions or for people to speak up. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I would recommend approval of Resolution 0222-28. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. Jim, just so I certainly am in favor of moving forward with this resolution so we can keep the project going. The $500,000 that you mentioned actually was a motion that we had passed to use the money out of general fund as opposed to a budgeted item. So there may be some pushback at some points, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. What happens if the scope of the project changes after a public hearing, reduces or something like that? No concerns as long as we include everybody we're thinking about including at this point, we're good?
Right. We cannot expand the scope or the area of benefit, but it can certainly be reduced. And that's what I would anticipate through the public informational meeting, the public hearing process. There may be some areas that don't want to be assessed because as the council has passed, there is a $10 per front foot assessment for those people where the street that's being improved is directly in front of their house, but it's $5 per foot if you live on a perpendicular street within a half a block of that street. So there may be some pushback, some areas that don't want it. The other thing will be where's the greatest need, and once we receive bids is where we'll have to focus down as to what will the budget allow and which are the highest priorities.
So tell me one more time before I get the motion here. So the public hearing would be at 5 p.m. on the 9th of March. So that'd be prior to our March 9th council meeting. And then you mentioned something else about a little informational meeting. Can you go through that one more time for me, please?
Certainly. We have to give advance notice to everybody that's involved in this project. We have to give them, I believe, 2 weeks advance notice and so forth. But what we'll be doing is probably next week sending out the notice of the public hearing, which is required. But in there, we also put another sheet of paper informing them. And what we do is hold a public informational meeting, which is not required by state statute. But at that, people are not intimidated. And it's really, we present exactly the same information as we would present at the formal public hearing, but we don't have to record minutes or anything else. It's a lot more informal, a lot less intimidating for the public to ask questions, give their opinions and so forth. And we've typically done that, and it's been very successful, and it tends to keep our actual public hearing rather brief and short and to the point. And it gives the people, a week in advance to give their opinions to the council as well.
So Jim, just one more question. So at the March 9th meeting, we'll be discussing this a little later tonight, but at the March 9th meeting, I hope to propose tonight that we start a hybrid type of meeting structure, first meeting in March. I'm going to be gone at the next meeting, so it'd be better if we, at least I'm here when we're trying to do it for the first time. Are you gonna need some assistance from somebody? Because if we're gonna do a public hearing and we have some people that are interested in being part of it and wanna come on our Zoom, which we're thinking about having the department heads, or I at least am gonna propose that at the beginning here, that the department heads still come in via Zoom. Are you gonna need some assistance to try to PowerPoint or something so you can show the public what we intend to do, or in the council and whatnot? I mean, what do we need to do to help you there?
I will follow up with Brian and Stephanie and try and answer those questions or address those questions before we actually send out the formal notices, such that we can hopefully inform the public of what will be the means of communication of that information to and from them. I guess I was thinking that quite often there are too many people that show up at the public hearing or the public informational meeting. But I guess one of my thoughts would be that we could actually do the public informational meeting at the Senior Citizen Center, where we could possibly do a Zoom meeting where people could tune in. And but I don't know exactly the technical aspects or operational aspects of doing that. So
good. Okay.
That we need to solve. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Council, Jim's looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0222-28, which will allow us to hold that public hearing, which will basically encompass everything he feels we could do as a mill and overlay project. Whether or not we actually do all of it or not will be later determined. So looking for a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that? Thank you, April. Further discussion, Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Marty.
the pushback officially starts now. I'm disappointed that we came up with a project scope that's so far over our budget. And why are we trying to push something that's 30-40% over our budget and going to the public with it and going to contractors with it? We knew we are limited to $500,000 out of our budget this year. I mean, granted, we'll get some money from assessments, that certainly helps, but I don't like the approach. I don't think we're doing anybody any good or any favors here to propose $1 million project, of which we're gonna have to pay over $800,000. We budgeted $500,000. You know, I understand we can scale back scope, but you're gonna get pushback from homeowners because we don't even know which parts of the project we're gonna cut out yet. And I think we have to cut this project back. We can't just be out here spending money on stuff just because. So there's my pushback, and I'm not in favor of this. And I'd also like to eventually see Jim and SEH or whoever come up with a mill overlay that also includes GeoGrid, where you mill up the first 3 inches of the gravel and see what that cost difference is, and look at lifetime cycle of pavement, and do a full economic analysis of that. So as we go into these projects, we can see, are we designing a 20-year project or a 40-year project or what? So thank you for your time.
Marty, if I might just address at least the first part of, am I on? Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, this mill and overlay or street reconditioning project actually was initiated a year and a half ago, and primarily by Travis. Basically, for the 2021 budget, there was $130,000 that had been designated for street reconditioning, mill and overlay, and so forth. And then I don't remember if it was late in 2020 or early 2021. Travis came to the council, and they basically, what he was proposing was to take about $500,000 out of reserves, up to $500,000, I should say, and the council went along with that. and said up to $500,000 because it was going to depend on financing for the public safety building and other projects as well. So basically we started out and Travis was pushing for 40 blocks. We felt we could do it for the $630,000. So that's really where we're at. And basically it took us a long time because we wanted to make sure that the sanitary sewer where we're proposing mill and overlay we're in good condition, that we didn't put down a mill and overlay and dig it up within a year or two because we got failures of our sanitary sewer system. So yes, I realize that it is over budget, and that was kind of the 40 blocks that we were looking at last year, and we've tried to carry that forward. And as I said, we're looking at and we'll put it right in the plans. The specification is that our budget is $500,000 to be spent on construction. It's really a matter of which do we feel are the most critical or have the highest priority to get done first. So, and that I see as being a decision of the mayor, the council, staff, and the citizenry as well. Thank you.
If I could just add one thing for Jim there, we were blown away by the pricing that came back. And I think, you see that the pump is oil. It all comes under the oil pricing and the asphalt. And, when you're paying double at the pump that you were a year ago, when we seen the numbers, I couldn't believe it. So that's why we were so over budget too, Marty.
Okay, we do have a motion to support. I do agree with Councillor Halverson, by the way. One thing I'll add that might, it changes my mind a little bit. By including the entire 40 blocks, what we do end up doing is it allows us to pick and choose the ones that are most important when we get right down to it. And they've been included in the public hearing, which is really what we're doing tonight. So, yeah. So I think it's good to include them in case we want to do them, even though we don't do the whole project. Margaret?
Councillor Halverson.
No.
Councillor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Councillor Floton.
Aye.
Councillor Lance.
Aye.
Councillor Vaki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Jim. Tammy, resolution number 0222-29, apply and accept Chisholm Community Foundation grant funds for tennis, pickleball, and basketball court. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I'm just looking for approval for this resolution to help pay for that project.
Also, so we had allocated money in our budget, and she's looking to apply for an additional $30,000 to put together with that to try to do that project. So I'll look for a motion to adopt resolution 0222-29.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion, council? Margaret?
Councillor Halverson.
Aye.
Councillor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Councillor Fountain.
Aye.
Councillor Lance.
Aye.
Councillor Vaki, absent, and Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Tammy. Stephanie Wenton addition work plan, contract, Bob Streeter Consulting LLC. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I want to apologize. I just realized that Bob's work plan was not concluded within your packet and the other additional contracts. I did send it out, so I hope you have enough information within the packet to make a decision on this tonight. It has been very apparent that our housing stock is lacking, I guess, for better words. We did do an assessment with EDA last summer, I believe it was, on the projects that we would be working on. And housing was one of the main priorities. The new housing development was the first thing that we wanted to tackle. And then we will be going into existing housing stock for renovation. and then looking at multifamily apartments also moving forward within the housing development. So that was identified within the EDA. And from there we went out and we found Bob Streeter, who in my opinion is very educated, has a lot of experience in community development and housing developments, and has been a really great asset. And I hope moving forward he will be too. So presented is working with Bob, like he said, to have no surprises for a developer to be able to come in and start construction on that Wenton addition. He will be including communities engagement sessions to make sure that the community is aware of what's going on and answer any questions, and making sure that we're identifying the correct housing types that are needed within the area. Bob at this point has been really great to work with. So if there are any additional questions for the process, please let me know.
Stephanie, so the actual request is to have the city pay out of the general, or out of our money in the bank, $102,400 that you hope to recoup through sale of lands.
Yes, that is accurate. So it would be for all the engineering studies, Bob's time, geotechnical, wetland delineation, all of the things that are outlined, and we would recoup those funds as we sell that land. Yes. And to approve a contract with Bob Streeter.
Council, the city administrator and economic development, which just came from, has that request. Looking for a motion to allow this project to continue forward.
I will make the motion.
Thank you, Adam. Is there a second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Marty, I see you turned your mic on.
Yes, so I'm a little confused about no scope, no cost.
I apologize. I apologize, Marty. I thought that the work plan was within the packet and it did not get in there. If we want to wait to approve it, I understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if you opened it up, Marty, it would, it's a very big document. I just looked at it on my computer next to me.
I'm not gonna vote for something that's not in our packet. It's just bad practice. So shame on us. Yeah, no scope, no fee, no, I don't know this. I love it. I love what we're doing. I love the idea. I'm all for the development, but it's just basic procedure that we have to follow. I'm sorry, Attorney Lindsay, I don't know, could you chime in and talk about scopes and fees and voting on things that aren't in our packet? Is that even legit?
We can table it.
I guess Attorney Lindsay, could you chime in and give us some advice on this?
Yeah, Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the best practice is to have the information and be able to review it. The most important thing is that the city knows and that the council knows what the project is, what the cost of it will be to the city, and is able to make an informed decision. If with the information that a council has, they're able to make an informed decision, then it's fair to proceed. If a council or council members don't feel that that they're able to make an informed decision, as Administrator Scraba has indicated, it may be a good practice to put the vote off until that information is acquired.
So, Adam, you made the original motion. Any concern with withdrawing your motion, and we'll bring it back in next meeting?
No concerns.
Cheyenne, your second.
No concern.
Council, just so you know, Stephanie did email that out when she realized it, so you do have it on your email, your city email. So we'll take no action on this item. We'll bring it back at the next meeting. For any reason we think we should wait one more meeting, there are going to be 2 council people missing. It wouldn't matter to me if you want to bring it to the next meeting, but so we'll just we'll move past that one tonight and we'll bring it back. Go ahead, Marty.
Another question then, what are these other attachments then, this Maxfield proposal and Putnam planning, what are they and how do they relate to this?
It's all in the work plan. Those companies.
I couldn't quite hear that, what are they?
So those would be the companies that Bob Streeter will be working with to collect all the information.
Oh, okay, so they're subcontractors to him.
Correct.
Okay, all right, well, that wasn't, I couldn't quite understand that either. All right, thank you.
And that's laid out in the stuff you just sent us then, Stephanie?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right, so yeah, good point, Marty, and we'll bring that one back. All right, we'll move on. Job description for confidential administrative assistant. Council, as you know, our wonderful administrative assistant, Margaret, is going to be retiring in a few months, and we want to start the process to figure out how we're ever going to replace that position. I'll turn it over to Stephanie. She has the job description that she brought forward.
Yeah, in your packet, you'll find the job description for the confidential administrative assistant. This has been a non-union position. It has its own contract. Do you have questions on the job description?
Stephanie, just a question for me. How different is this from like when Margaret was hired? How's that for an answer?
There hasn't been a lot of changes to it. I may have changed a couple things, but there was not a lot of changes to her existing job description.
And then you brought forward a potential wage on this as well of $28 to $30 an hour as a starting wage on this.
Yes, so it wasn't included in this job description, but I would propose $28 to $31 an hour for a salary range.
Okay. And as Attorney Lindsay mentioned when you asked him earlier, it's basically it's a negotiation point anyway, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
You get candidates apply for it. In the end result is you bring back a contract you can agree with if the council agrees with it.
Yes, since this is a non-union position, yes, it will be negotiated.
Okay. Council, Stephanie's looking for a motion to approve the job description for the confidential administrative assistants with the addition of that $28 to $31 an hour starting wage that she had missed in the job description.
I'll make that motion. Oh, second.
All right, I know April seconded. Was it Cheyenne that made the motion?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Cheyenne, seconded by April. Discussion, council?
Mr. Mayor, I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Was Margaret able to just look it over to make sure if she needed to add anything or subtract anything? Okay, thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
She did better than that. She made all the photocopies even. All right, Margaret, vote please.
Counselor Alderson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicolaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Appoint hiring committee for confidential administrative assistance. I don't think she plans to post for this right away. I'll let Stephanie answer to that, but and I also don't know what our current hiring policy is on for this particular position. So I'll just turn it over to Stephanie.
Yes, Mayor, that is correct. I'd like to post probably closer to the end of February and post this position for a month. With this position, I would like to have a council member on the hiring committee basis on that they do work a lot with the council and the mayor.
So your thought would be to seat the hiring committee tonight and then the next meeting bring forward the posting for the job?
Yes.
Okay. Council, we got a council person that wants to sit on this board.
Like to.
Council, any opposition to Cheyenne being on the hiring committee? Stephanie, you got a recommendation on who else should be seated on this as far as the others?
Sure.
Michelle?
Yes, I would like to be on it, and then another department head. Mandy had expressed interest if anybody else was interested.
Is that enough, just 3?
We can have one more if anybody else is interested in that position. I know this position is, affects a lot of people in the city, so if anybody else is interested, that is fine too.
We want Margaret to sit in on this. She's got a lot of history here.
She would like to.
Sure, I would be happy to. Vern would be another good one.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because he works with our other administrative assistant that, but council, look for a motion, councilperson Nicola Raha, our building official Mandy, our administrator Stephanie, and Margaret to serve on this board. And if they feel that they would like the expertise of Chief Manor, they could bring him in as well. I think that's fair.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that?
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Further discussion, council?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick question.
Good.
Will there be some overlapping so Margaret can help train he or she?
Yes, that is the intention, Councillor Fountain. That's why I would like to post in the end of February. We'll post for a month and then we would interview as soon as we can. So we would have some overlapping in the month of May.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing else, Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carried. Job description for Parks, Trails, and Rec Director. Council, you also probably have heard that our Rec Director, Tammy Netherleinen, is looking to retire in a few months. And we're going to be looking for a new Recreation Director. And I do know that Stephanie, and I know I agree with her, would like to expand on that a little bit since we now have a campground and we have a mountain bike park and a number of other things that this person could assist us with. So with that said, I'll just now turn it to Stephanie to talk more about it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. With the additions of, like you said, the campground with Redhead Mountain Bike Park, I feel as though this position can get expanded to a full-time position. So this job description has changed quite a bit. So if you had time to review it, if you had any additional questions, so they would have more event planning. Redhead requires quite a bit of event planning, some marketing pieces to it, and then the same work that Tammy has been doing also with summer rec and soccer and all of that stuff too, teen center. So nothing would be coming out of what Tammy currently does, but there would be additions.
Stephanie, this would be a MAPE Supervisors Union job, correct?
Yes, I did contact the MAPE representation and they did review the job description. I will add that to the bargaining unit.
Okay. Also looking for a motion to approve the job description for the Parks, Trails, and Rec Director. And I'm assuming, Stephanie, that you plan to do the same thing, open that job about the same time as you would be for the administrative assistants?
Yes.
Towards the end of February? Okay. So, council looking for a motion to approve job description of the Rec Director.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second?
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion, council? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki, absent, Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Appoint hiring committee for Parks, Trails, and Rec Director. I think on this one, we have very specifically, we want a council person on that. That would be correct, right? Stephanie?
Yes, that is correct.
So we look for council person, yourself, other recommendations. Tammy on this one as well?
Sure. I would have, or if there's, and also if there's any other department head that would be interested.
Larry, thoughts on you being on that one? I like Larry on there. He's
Yeah, I would volunteer if Stephanie wants. I'd work closely with this person, of course, so I'd be up for that. Appreciate the invitation.
I hate to nominate a counselor who's not here, but Travis is pretty involved with the park, so I'm sure he'd probably love to be on that board.
It expressed interest to me when I talked to him about it.
He did express interest?
Yes,
okay. So council, looking for motion, and we'll put city administrator, we'll put Larry, we'll put Tammy. Tammy, you okay with being on the hiring committee? Is she still here?
He said yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And then councilperson Baki as well. So we'll look for that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Marty. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson,
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki's absent, Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. All right, last item under Stephanie, electronic signature policy. I'll turn this over to her, but all I have heard about this is way overdue. Stephanie?
That is correct, Mayor. Yep. The staff is going to be pleased if this passes tonight to accept electronic signatures for certain documents that are within this policy that we would still need wet signatures for ordinances, resolutions, and things like that, but contracts and other things can be accepted.
Is this policy from the attorney?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Council looking for a motion to approve the electronic signature policy.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Second for that. Thank you, Adam. Discussion, council?
One quick question.
Go ahead, Marty.
What, for my ignorance, what is a laserfiche form?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Brian.
Laserfiche is a form or a document type, a lot like a PDF is. Laserfiche is a commonly used form in business, and so I wanted to address it specifically. You'll also see in the policy that I address specifically other file formats. So I tried to hit kind of the big players and then provide some general rules as well.
Thank you.
It's all Greek to me. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki, absent, Mayor Champa.
Aye. Good, that motion carries. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll move on to my items. Application from Whitley Ridlon for the Planning Commission. Another great candidate to fill our last position, opening on there. Make the recommendation. We put Whitney on there, Whitley, and look for motion.
I'll make the motion to appoint Whitney Ridlon to the Planning Commission. Marty.
Second, April.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, April. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. The motion carries. I was kind of had a laugh that there's an L in there and I used it the second time I said her name. Welcome aboard, Whitney. All right, council, second item. Stephanie, do we want to, well, okay, so hybrid model for council meetings. We need to start meeting as a council in person again. I know the attorney's been kind of telling the administrator we need to figure out how to do this. Thoughts are, and I'll lean on Stephanie a little bit too, because she's been talking to Steve, who does our meetings for us, to try to figure out how we're going to do it. Thought is to try to do an in-person first meeting in March, council in the council chambers. We're going to try to figure out how to spread everybody out. Department heads via Zoom, public participation via Zoom. I noted on the bottom, Stephanie, Eileen, and attorney, I didn't get a chance to ask those questions on how those would fit in. Obviously, I think Stephanie would want to be in the council chambers with us. But Stephanie, can you help me with this a little bit? Because I know you've been carrying the ball out in a lot of it.
Sure. I'm not sure if Steve's available to speak on this too, but I've spoken to Steve pertaining to, okay, if you want to just give a little recap of what that hybrid model would look like. I know you have more experience than I do with that.
Steve, question, this is the mayor. You know, when we sit at our normal positions at the council chamber, you pipe in the audio and whoever's speaking, it kind of grabs it. Thoughts on how we might be able to get audio to all of us? Because our thoughts are, I guess my thought is we may have to just kind of plunk desks around the outside, or, you know, it's council chambers pretty small, and we might have to kind of plunk desks on like 3/4 of it, put your camera person in the other corner, right? And they can pan on the 4 or the 6 of us. And if Stephanie's in or Eileen or the attorney, Eileen and the attorney obviously could be on Zoom if that's legal. We'll ask the attorney at the end. But thoughts on the whole audio? Can we get some type of overall audio in between all of us or something that could pick it up? Or yeah, more concerned that you're able to hear the counselors, because I don't know that we can move our microphones over to wherever we might be sitting, you know, from the council, you know, where we're sitting. You know, that's my concern is that we can't, you know, they're plugged right into a socket on the council chamber's desk and trying to extend it. I don't know if there's an extension cord to move them audio to somewhere and then still do that. We may have to do a little more research. We do have, you know, roughly a month to do it, but okay. Stephanie, are you thinking it would just be the council and you in there?
That's fine.
And you would run the Zoom portion? Is that what we're thinking?
We can do that. Brian, is that how can we do it that way with just everybody else remote or?
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, in a hybrid model, we could have the staff and department heads could be remote. The important part, as much as possible, is to get the council members together.
So council, go ahead, whoever that was.
Can we look into moving the microphones? If they just plug in, you should be able to plug them into that board, no matter where the mixing board is. Maybe we could look at the senior center so we have adequate space to spread out. We'd have to haul the system in, set it up every time. That'd be kind of a hassle. Just a thought.
Yeah, Marty, I think that somehow they ran those cables through a conduit or something to sockets. So,
okay,
there's probably an internal cord somewhere. So, yeah, if a person could get the right cord, I think we could do it. You know, you could almost do it anywhere. And we do have internet everywhere. Like I said, that, you know, my thought would be, I like the second person. We'll get them in there so they can point at who's talking. The Zoom hybrid model is good. We can get our department heads. That way we have a minimal amount of people in there. And the only thing we have to do is try to figure out how to do the audio. So, you know, unless there's any opposition, council, I'd look at, you know, I guess a motion to try to bring it back that direction, council people only, with the administrator trying to help us with the Zoom portion, bringing in that second person to film the council and do it hybrid, and we'll work on the audio portion, and hopefully we can get it all put together for that first meeting in March. So I don't know how you make that motion, but Attorney Lindsay, you see any issues with that, trying to do that?
Mayor, I think that's a good start to the plan.
Okay. Council, look for motion. Go ahead.
Question. I was looking on the League of Minnesota Cities, and there's some questions on there that says general operational issues during the COVID-19 pandemic, and somebody did bring a question up. You know, does the city have the option of meeting in person and requiring remote attendance by the public? And if the city council meets in person, the public must have the option of also attending in person. So we also have to make sure that I'm going to say patrons, the public is able to attend. But on the same hand, in that council chambers, it's very small. And when you addressed this a couple of weeks ago, and you said if we had any concerns or comments to send them to Stephanie, and I did via email. And I just feel I'm okay with meeting in person, but I would feel better if we were in that setting to make sure that we all wore masks. That's just my personal opinion. That's where I'm coming from.
I do agree. I was going to say one thing that, I think one complaint I've had from the public is that they have not been able to come, for public participation. So I think if we can open it to the public to come to the meeting, or have that option for people that don't have internet, I think that would be a good thing.
I'm not in favor of wearing a mask. That's just the way it is. It's hard enough to run a meeting without one. I have a terrible time hearing if I can't see a person's mouth moving, and I can tell you I'm going to struggle with it.
Agree with that.
Which doesn't prevent anybody else from wearing a mask, obviously. Attorney Lindsay, can you address the concern about that April brought forward with regard to the public if we're meeting in person?
Thank you, Mayor. I can, and that is one of the requirements, is that we would have to have some space available where people could come in. That being said, we can put certain limits on it. We can enforce social distancing, but we have to make arrangements so that some members of the community could come and participate. And then the best option is whenever there's an alternative means like Zoom, we provide more accessibility as opposed to less accessibility.
Okay, so that's a consideration. April, thank you for bringing that forward. And I don't think that makes it any more difficult. We're not going to have them in there for the majority of the meeting. If somebody wants to come to a meeting, we're going to have to put aside a spot where they can come forward and they can be heard, and then they'll step back out. If we do have some public participation signed up, maybe one of our department heads, we can have them help us control, how they're social distanced outside the council chambers. While they're zoomed in themselves or whatever. So I don't think that would be unreasonable.
Mayor, this is Eileen. I just wanted to state that I'm happy to help with whatever's needed. I'll make a commitment to do that in person.
Good. Thank you, Eileen. Yeah, and that might be a big one, how we, if some people want to come talk to us, kind of how to hold them out in the lobby or whatever, and then bring them in when we're ready for public participation. So council, that's a plan I want to bring forward, and I'd look for a motion to try to get that all ready to go for our April 9th meeting. I believe it's April 9th.
April or March?
March 9th.
March 9th.
That motion.
Alrighty, Adam, thank you. Second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Sharon. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikularaha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Nay.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki. Absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. And our motion carries. And the last item on our regular meeting tonight, council, temporary liquor license for the Lions Club. Date of event, March 5th, 2022. Stephanie, remind me again, this is for the comedy night that's up at the Armory. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So council looking for a motion to approve the temporary liquor license for the Lions Club for March 5th, 2022 for the event that will be held at the Chisholm Armory.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April. Second.
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Further discussion, council? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikularaha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki, absent. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, our motion carries. Council, if there's nothing else, we'll look for motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, anybody? All right, so meeting is adjourned, council. Have a good evening.